Hi everybody, my name is Kelly Kirk and I am a peer support specialist in Richmond County, North Carolina. And we are having our Monday online recovery support group for our Facebook Live. Welcome to our Facebook Live online recovery support group, supported by the Sandhills Opioid Response Consortium. This is a forum where people in recovery can come together. We are here to encourage and support individuals in their recovery journey by sharing our own experience, strength, and hope. Our meetings consist of daily readings, meditations, devotionals, as well as open discussions. We only ask that when you're sharing, you adhere to the rules and guidelines of this page. All recovery paths are welcome, and please feel free to share by leaving your comments or questions in the comment bar there. So my name's Kelly Kirk and I've been in recovery for almost 6 years in October. Hi Reed. It'll be 6 years in October. So today I thought we would talk about fear and change in recovery. So for me, addiction recovery was like a big undertaking. And Reed, if you want to come on camera, I can split screen with you. Just let me know, because there's an option on there. I see we can have us both on there. So if you want to talk about anything, just let me know. Just type it in there. And I hope I'll see the comments. I think I will. Anyway, so fear in recovery. Like I was saying, addiction recovery was a huge thing for me. It changed my life, and it's a process that takes time. It's like an ongoing thing. You're always changing and learning and growing in recovery. And so I think it's normal to feel fear in recovery, lots of it, and apprehension. And the important thing is to not let the fear keep you from moving forward in your recovery. And oftentimes the things that you worry about the most, or that you fear the most, or for me anyway, they end up like not even happening. Or you worry about something and you're afraid about it for a long time, and then it happens and it was not nearly as bad as you thought it was going to be. So a lot of times I feel like our fears are really unfounded, and we're just afraid because we don't know what's going to happen. And so it's like natural to be afraid, but I'm learning to fight that fear a lot and try to think through it and work through it and think about, why am I afraid and what am I really afraid of? So I did some research, and I have some guidelines I'm going to use to go by. So it says, here are some common things that people worry about in addiction recovery. Fear of failure, making a mistake, or relapsing. Everyone makes mistakes. And that's true. Everyone does make mistakes. If we didn't, we wouldn't be human. So I think if you give yourself permission to make mistakes, and just know that you're going to make mistakes, and don't be too hard on yourself when you make mistakes, I think that can set you up for problems if you think that you're never going to make mistakes, or you don't allow yourself to make mistakes and then kind of get over them quickly, because there's really no sense in focusing on, your mistakes. I mean, all you can do is really just move on, So like, don't be too hard on yourself. That's good advice. And as long as you keep trying and you keep pushing forward, you will succeed eventually. So fear of failure, I think that is a big fear in recovery, because you don't want to fail. You want to be successful in your new life, and you want to succeed. And, that fear is always there in the back of your mind. So it's like, if you can fight it and allow yourself to make mistakes, I think that's a good way to deal with it. The second one is fear of success. Overcoming addiction and not knowing what to do with yourself or how to react. Success can be scary to someone in recovery. We are so used to disappointments and letting people down, that it can be strange when we start doing good for a while. And that's true. You know, when you're in active addiction, you're not living your best life, to say the least. And fear of success is real because you want to do good, and, you know, when you start doing good, it's almost like, hey, you know, something's wrong here. Things are going too good, you know, and it can be strange. And so it's like a whole new world. And for me, I just try to take it one step at a time, you know, and I try to realize my successes, even if they're really small, and try to give myself credit when I can. And I think when you start living in recovery and you start to do good things and you can kind of see your success, that encourages you and you can build on that. But there is some fear of success because you're so used to disappointing people and, you know, disappointing yourself, that when you finally do succeed, it can be hard. Hi, Stephanie. Okay, so the next one was fear of being alone. It says, you probably cut ties to unhealthy relationships and may worry now that you are all on your own. There are support people out there just like you that are going through similar things. Reach out to local resources or look for Facebook groups or support groups. There are a ton of them out there. You just got to take the first step and reach out. So yeah, fear of being alone. And it is hard in the beginning in recovery because you do have to cut all those ties with unhealthy people. And sometimes for a lot of people, that's really all they have in their life is unhealthy people, because that's who you've surrounded yourself with, all the dealers and the people that can hook you up and other people that are using. And so when you cut all those people off, you are kind of alone, and it's pretty much up to you to build relationships that are going to be healthy for you, and make sure that you being around people that support you and encourage you and love you. And, you know, if you don't have that, then you are alone. So I think it's really important to seek out people and find people that you have that in common with, other people in recovery, because they understand what you're going through, and they can support you and you can support them, and it's like a mutual thing. And so you don't have to be alone, but I think being alone sometimes can be a good thing as long as you're comfortable with it. It can give you a chance to reflect on yourself and kind of really think about, like, who am I and what am I going to do now that I'm in recovery? Who do I want to be? Do I want to help people? Do I want to set goals for myself? Do I want to, like, repair relationships with family members that I've let down? Or do I want to go back to school? It gives you a chance to, like, really think about what you want to do in your recovery. So I think being alone a little bit is okay as long as you're comfortable with it. Fear of the unknown. Worrying about what your life will be like without substance use, since that is all you have known for a while. Yeah, that can be scary. Yeah, I mean, fear of the unknown, because it's basically like you're having a whole new lease on life, and you have to figure out where you're going to take yourself now that you're not using anymore. And that can be scary, because for me anyway, I kind of lost sight of who I was. And it's like you've spent all your energy and time on getting your drug and making sure that you were going to be okay. And now all that's gone. It's like you have the whole day to just do normal stuff, quote unquote normal. And for me, I really had to keep myself busy because I wanted to stay out of my own head, because that's a dangerous place for me to be. So I think when you first start out in recovery, you do have to fill your time. You do have to find stuff to do. What I did was I made a big giant list of everything I wanted to get done and everything I needed to get done. And every day when I got up, I just focused on my list and I picked out a few things or one thing at a time that I wanted to work on, and I started getting things done. And when I started getting things done and I could see all the check marks on my list where I had done things, that made me feel good. Like, you know, I'm getting things accomplished. And then that builds your self-esteem, because usually when you're, you know, just new in recovery, you don't have any self-esteem. Like, you've totally blown all that. So if you can kind of work on getting some things done in your life, whether it's like small stuff or big stuff, like making a doctor's appointment or getting your hair cut or fixing the refrigerator or calling your uncle that you told off last year, or just anything can be on the list. And if you start chipping away at the things that you need to get done or the things you need to set straight, you know, it can help you build up your self-esteem, and it can help you figure out what you want to do with yourself, because, you know, your days will just start to form into a routine. And, you know, you can also think about, what do you want to do with, do you want to go back to school? Do you want to get a job? You know, what do you want to be? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you see yourself? So there is a lot of unknown in recovery, I feel like. But if you just take your time and start out small, as your head clears, it'll become more clear to you what you should be doing. Okay, so the second thing I want to talk about was, oh wait, hold on. I'm still on fear, sorry. So, some things you can do to overcome your fears. Number one, practice relaxation techniques. This really helped me. Like meditation, do exercises to get out your nervous energy, which I have a lot of that. Try yoga. Breathing exercises, they really help me. I always remember when I was in this outpatient program in Florida, the counselor lady, she was like really cool, and she told us to smell the cake and blow out the candles. It was like, and I always remember that, smell the cake, blow out the candles. But that really does help. I mean, if you take it seriously and you really take a deep breath in and hold it and then let it out, they say it's the same thing as taking a Xanax. It gives your brain, it floods your brain with those endorphins. And hey, Jennifer. So, yeah. So I think breathing exercises and relaxation techniques can really help. Centering yourself, which I saw a webinar the other day where they suggested that to sit down and put your feet on the floor and close your eyes and feel your feet on the ground and feel your back against the chair. And that's a good way to ground yourself, to just like become aware that your feet are on the ground and that you're secure, and that's a good way to like find your center and get your mind off of what you're worried about. And I think that's a good tip. So the breathing, exercising, yoga, anything like that, centering yourself, calming your mind and your body, clearing your head. And another one is refocusing your thoughts. I'm glad you're here, Jennifer. I know you're going through some stuff, so I'm glad you're here. So another thing you can do to overcome your fear is change your environment. If you're feeling really afraid and you can't shake it, something that I'll do is I'll just step outside for a minute. Something about changing what you're looking at changes your mindset. It's like you can trick your mind into getting off that topic of fear, whatever you're afraid of. You step outside for a minute, you're looking at a new, something new, you're outside, you're taking in, what you're seeing and smelling and hearing, and it helps you get your mind off your fears. Think about something good on purpose. That's a good way to get your mind off of fears. It is true that your mind can only think one thought at a time. So if you, I am. If you are thinking about something good on purpose or something positive, then you cannot physically think about your fear at the same time. You can only focus on one thing at a time in your mind. So if you're really struggling with a fear, on purpose, think about, you know what, I'm going to make something really good for dinner today, or something like that, and it'll get your mind off of it. Ask your higher power to give you peace and trust that he will. And that's something that really works for me, is God, and I know Jennifer feels the same way, that, if you trust in your higher power and you believe that he can give you peace and that he can heal you and he can calm you down, and you believe that, then that your faith releases it. It's like, if you don't have faith, then don't even bother. But if you really trust and believe that he's going to help you, that's when it allows it. That's when he can come in and give you peace and let you be in the rest of God. So another one is take life one day at a time. And this is a big thing for people in recovery. Just take it, and sometimes you got to maybe just take it 1 minute at a time. If you're really going through something, just don't think too far ahead. Don't be thinking about tomorrow or next week or how you're going to deal with this other giant mountain you have to face. Just take it 1 minute at a time. Get through this minute, and you can worry about the next minute when it comes. Reach out to support groups. Talking through your worries so that they're not just swirling around in your mind, making you more anxious or upset. Just putting them into words and saying them out loud can help. I think this is true. I think that when we worry about stuff and we're afraid about things, they just like swim in your mind, and it comes to the forefront of your mind, and then you get off of it, but then it comes back around. It won't leave you, and you can't stop thinking about it. But if you do talk to somebody about it, that helps. Or if you write it down, that really helps too. There's something about getting your thoughts on the paper and out of your head that can help you not only release the thought, but also kind of process it. Like, why am I thinking these things? And what is it that I'm really afraid of? Or, is what I'm afraid of realistic? So the other thing I want to talk about was change in recovery. Addiction recovery requires a complete life change. There are 4 main areas of change to make sure you maintain your recovery. The first one is you need to change your environment. You need to make a committed effort to not being in the same places and environments that you were in before. And I think this is pretty self-evident. You don't want to be around bars and clubs and drug houses and bad neighborhoods. And, if you worked at a job where people were using, you might want to get a different job. It's impossible. It's impossible to stay in recovery and be around people that are using. And so I think that's a really important change that has to come if you're serious about recovery. You've got to change who you're around, because when you're using, these may be the only people you know. So, but all these environments should absolutely be avoided. Like I was saying, maybe think about getting a new job. Maybe start a new chapter in your life. If you can, maybe look for another place to live, because I think that's a big problem here where I live, is there's a lot of bad neighborhoods, and a lot of the people that I work with live in this one particular part of town, and they tell me, like, I got to get out of here. I can't live here, you know, because all they got to do is step outside and there's like drugs everywhere. And I feel really bad for them. Like, I wish I had a solution. And I always tell them, you know, can you go stay with an aunt or an uncle that maybe lives in a neighboring city, even just for like 6 months, to get your recovery, your early recovery kind of established, because that's really hard to be living in a neighborhood where you're trying to better yourself, you're trying to start over and not be abusing substances anymore, and all you gotta do is step outside. All the dealers are calling you, all your drug friends are calling you, asking you if you have any, asking you, you know, where you can get some and all that. It's like, change your number. If you can, move away. And I know that's not something everybody can do. Go stay with a relative. Go to rehab. Go to a program, a long-term program somewhere where you can get with people who are going to support you and help you start out. And then if you have to come back to that neighborhood, at least you've had some time to get yourself started and established in recovery, and then you'll be able to face that a little easier than if you just never leave. Change who you spend your time with. When in recovery, you should surround yourself with people who support your recovery and people who have your back. That's really true. And like I was saying, a lot of times you're not really being around people who support your recovery, because when you're using, you're around the people that are also using, or the dealers, or your dope man, or whoever you're getting this stuff from. So changing who you spend time with is really important. And sometimes it takes effort. You have to seek out people in recovery. You have to, and I know it was really hard for me, because, you know, whenever I first like tried to go to 12-step meetings and stuff in Florida, I didn't know anybody in those meetings, you know, and I walked in there and I was just trembling, you know, and I was just so nervous, but I knew that I had to get out there and put myself out there. Otherwise I was going to fail, you know. So it was like, but it's easier once you do it the first time and step out and go around some 12-step programs or some support groups. It gets easier, because especially when you realize that the people there are just like you, and they're struggling with the same things you're struggling with, and they want to support you. They want your support, and they want to support you. And if you can be around people that are at least doing as good as you are, if not better. They say to try to hang with people that are doing a little better than you are, so that you can come up to their level, rather than hanging around with people that are doing worse than you, because you already know they're going to bring you down to their level. So it's always good to surround yourself with supportive family members, you know, family, friends, anybody that can support you in your recovery. You know, find a therapist that you can get comfortable with and see on a regular basis. And that way, every time you go see your therapist, you just like pick up where you left off last time, and you can kind of work through things, and you know they're going to be there to support you no matter what. And when you have problems between your visits, you can save those up for when you go, and you can address them, you know, every week when you go, or however often you go. And that's the same with support groups. Even a psychologist is a good person to talk to. Because, I mean, those people have a big influence on us. The third one is make changes in your day-to-day life. This was really important to me. Ask yourself these questions, like, what are your responsibilities in life? Think about what you want to be doing. What about your career path? Do you want to further your education? Do you want to start helping others? Do you want to work on improving your family life? Do you want to spend more time outdoors or with the people you love? Like, what are the things that you see yourself doing? What do you want to do? to have this new life that you've just started when you're in early recovery. So asking yourself questions like that can help you figure out what direction you want to go. And then do things that are productive and useful and supportive of your recovery lifestyle. You know, read books, do, you know, webinars, watch sermons if that's your thing, or watch motivational speakers. That's a really good idea. You can get a lot out of that, and they're free. All you gotta do is go on YouTube. Make sure that you're staying active and busy. I think my worst enemy is idle time. If I sit around with nothing to do, I'm gonna get down on myself like that. I'm gonna start thinking about all this stuff, and my mind's just gonna wander around because I don't have anything I'm doing. So I try to stay busy. I try to stay occupied and active. I know ever since I started in recovery, I realized that if I sit too much and just be on the computer all day or something, I get antsy. My body has to match up with my brain. Like, if I'm real busy on my brain, but my body's just sitting there, I'm like off. I've got to make sure that I go walk on the treadmill or something later. Because for me, I've found that I need to be balanced like that. If I'm going to be sitting all day, that's not going to work for me. So, recreation is an important thing. I know, like, whenever you first get in early recovery, your brain has to adjust back to a normal brain, which takes time, and it has a hard time feeling pleasure. So I think that if you find little things you like to do, whether it's fishing or window shopping or being in the garden or like taking walks or scrapbooking or crafts, anything like that that's going to bring you pleasure, I think it's important that we treat ourselves to some fun. And that will help make up for, you know, not doing drugs, because drugs were fun for the most part, you know, and it gave us something to look forward to, even though it wasn't a good thing, but it was still occupying our time. So if we can find fun things or good things or productive things to replace those, it's not going to be as hard as if you're just sitting around wondering what to do. So, find out what you like to do and do it. But don't be so busy that you don't have time to chill and focus on yourself. So I think it's like finding a balance between being busy and being too busy. It's like, you got to make sure that, you know, if things get going too fast or you're taking on too much, take a second and make adjustments. Because you're always going to be making adjustments. Like, life's always coming at you with different things. So you got to, like, take away a little bit from here to make up for this. And it's like an evolving thing. Let's see. Pursue self-improvement. Spend some time thinking about what things about yourself you would like to change. Check in with yourself regularly. Stop and think about how things are going. Get spiritual. If you don't have a spiritual side, maybe it would be good for you to have one. What do you believe and why? Now that you're thinking clearly, you could put some thought into it and see where it takes you. Having a relationship with God or your higher power can be really fulfilling and bring you peace and help you keep things in perspective. I know for me, God is a huge part of my recovery. I would not be here if it wasn't for Him. I would probably be in prison for real. And I'm really grateful every single day that I have a good relationship with Him. I don't have to hide anything from Him now, even though I really wasn't hiding it from Him. I thought I was. I don't have to turn my back on Him because I'm ashamed. I can be open and I can talk to Him about everything, and I can ask Him to help me with things. I can ask Him to search me and show me what I need to change, and I can be honest with myself. And I've got to tell you, it feels really good to be in the place I'm at. I mean, it's awesome. And the last part is, like, read books, take courses, improve your life skills, communicate with people, get to know them, and all those things will help you grow in your recovery and as a person. And I think life skills is important too. Like a lot of times when you're in recovery, your credit's not so good, or you don't have a bank account, or you don't have, you know, you want to buy a house but you can't because your credit's messed up. And I think it's really important to clean up your credit, and it's not hard to do. If anybody's interested, just message me and I can give you some tips. But yeah, I mean, I think if you pursue self-improvement, make changes to your day-to-day life, change who you spend your time with, and changing your environment, those are great ideas for changes that should be made in recovery. And I think that is all I have for today. So thank you everybody that came on. I appreciate it. Talk to y'all later.